You know, I'm probably not the only person to think this, but I feel like GGG may be biting off a bit more than they can chew. I've been having conversations with a couple of buddies of mine concerning PoE 2 and the endgame and how things have been progressing, and I'm going to be making a video about how that is actually turning out for someone who doesn't have a lot of time to play every single day like everybody else does, or most streamers do. Kind of like a perspective on, you know, what is actually happening to the normal player of Path of Exile. The thing is, though, there were some concerns with PoE 1 and the new content, and honestly, I can see those concerns being totally valid. I have my own opinion on them because I feel like PoE 2 needs so much more work nowadays compared to what PoE 1 does, but it turns out that GGG is in fact putting out a new event called the Legacy of Frisia, and it's going to be a new system for specializing in endgame content, so new ascendancies, and they're going to be replacing the existing Atlas passive skill tree. Check it out in today's new post. So we're going to be looking at a new post that happened just a few hours ago, but some really concerning posts from people that I really respect in the community were coming out as well, like Sir Gog specifically. I hope item level 68 to 70 idols bias hard toward map sustain, with league mechanic idols coming online by yellow maps. Without this, I fear you'll feel the need to emergency patch map drop rates by day 3. Now, what is Sir Gog talking about exactly? Well, it turns out that you're no longer going to have an Atlas tree. Instead, you're going to be putting idols inside of this map device over here to go ahead and then dictate what you're going to be running or the content you're going to be looking for in terms of running your specialization of what you're looking into. Similar to towers, without having to do the tower and then putting in the tablet to influence all the maps in the area. Basically just doing it right here with the map device. I can kind of see that perspective to be kind of cool, but here's the problem. Abyss cracks in your maps a 3% chance to spawn all monsters, and the Delirium in your maps a 24% chance to be distanced from the mirror. These idols basically here are going to be all drops instead of actually just specializing it directly into the tree. If anybody knows anything about map sustain in PoE 2 or even tablet sustain in PoE 2, maps were very dry to come around with early on when going into tier 1 to tier 4, and then tablets were also difficult as well. I've run out of breach tablets, and I'm no longer able to run breach unless I find it naturally in the Atlas map in PoE 2. But I have a ton of boss tablets, and I'm doing bossing all day long, but that's not the content I want to actually run. So Sir Gog's concern, which I totally can agree with, is the fact that right now we're going to be stuck with whatever drops we have here specifically designed for the content we're going to run. Unlike in PoE 1 naturally, well, you'll just run that content like normal because you specialized into that content. I really feel like that's a big issue with PoE 2 right now as well, where it's all too much RNG and not enough on the player. Whether areas are corrupted or not is still too much in RNG. Whether a different part of the Atlas has what I'm looking for is too much RNG. Where we had citadels not spawning enough, people were making really weird videos trying to figure out whether or not the mummified corpses of people inside of towers were pointing to actual citadel directions. It was getting to that point, and I feel like it's going to be happening again with this. And I can see a lot of the concerns with that because it almost feels a lot like PoE 2 is creeping into PoE 1. Now, I don't really mind that because that was their idea in the first place, having those two things basically together, but the changes don't feel right. I would have preferred more PoE 1 creep into PoE 2 specifically, where having more direct control over my Atlas and what I run would be a better course of action rather than just having it full RNG. But thankfully, though, GGG does in fact listen to their community, albeit at some points, and they did put out an FAQ recently. And of course, they are showing more Ascendancy classes as well that we're going to be getting. I'm probably going to be trying out the Harbinger, honestly. I feel like that's going to be kind of cool. But there's going to be the Daughter of Oshabi, the Antiquarian for the Marauder, and then of course the Surfcaster for the Shadow. But here are a couple of things that I want to point out specifically. And everybody's talking about the idols because it's literally the second question here on the FAQ, and it reads, how powerful are the idols? What is the expected amount of juicing compared to the Atlas tree? Idols can be found as either magic or rare items, are unmodifiable, but each modifier is approximately 2 or 3 times the power of the corresponding Atlas tree node. Not all stats are reflective of this, however. For example, if you had a 100% chance to have strong boxes be reopenable, you'd be opening the same strong box all day. So in some cases, the stats are more conservative values, and in other cases, they're higher, like being able to get more ritual and even reduce the cost of rerolls to be free. It is relatively difficult to describe the power difference between the system and Atlas tree, but with a fully optimized set of idols, you could easily have more than 3 times the amount of different content or 3 times the power of one type of content. This, again, feels like PoE 2, where you can have a specific Atlas node and then put a Waystone into it and have Breach, Delirium, Ritual, and a boss, have it be corrupted and irradiated all at the same time. And I've seen that happen, which is kind of funny, but this is what it feels more like, where it seems to be like you're going to have these specific maps that are juiced because of these idols being added into it, and they're just going to be constantly moving on and forward. But I'm sure there's going to be another drawback to this as well. They continue by saying, how do the idols drop and how often are we expected to find an idol? The idols are in the core drop pool and will start dropping at endgame. They completely scale with juicing, and there is also a static drop chance 50% for them to drop from the final map boss in maps to alleviate randomness. Thankfully, it is not intended that you are at the whims of randomness to find these, as they are the gateway to fun. As you get further into the endgame and start applying more juice to your maps, you will find more and more of these, certainly getting many per map. I do like the fact that it's a 50-50 chance of getting an idol in the final map boss. However, I want to specify what kind of idols I can shoot for. It's cool that I can go ahead and get a high rolled idol, especially a rare or even a unique one. But what I want to be able to do is say, I want to look for Delirium idols, or I want to look for Essence idols, or I want to look for specific idols that I want to target and then be able to stack them in that map device and then have it just escalate exponentially. That would be a much better way of doing things, being able to specifically target what I'm looking for and then be able to juice it with that way on top of adding scarabs in the meantime. That, I think, would be a much better way, because you can then exponentially just have your map be exactly what you're looking for and get your things that you need. A lot of what I do in PoE 1 especially, I don't play SSF in PoE 1 because the crafting in that game is far too advanced for someone with a P-brain like myself, but I feel like a lot of this truly is going to be more down to RNG, where I kind of feel like Sir Gog is in the right. But let's continue. Is the idol system replacing the Atlas tree? Only during this event. It is an old throwaway idea we didn't think would be good enough to replace the Atlas tree. For this event, we wanted to create an almost alternate reality Ray class vibe and thought this would be interesting to experience alongside the alternate ascendancy class ideas too. After the event, we'll be adding the alternate ascendancy classes and alternate endgame idols to the private league list so people can have the leagues with just one or other that at their leisure. Okay, you know what this feels like to me? It does feel like an old idea, but this also feels like what's a very similar thing that we can do that is close to PoE 2 that people who just got into PoE would be okay or have an adjacent style with. Having an Atlas beat not there, where the Atlas passive skill tree in PoE 1 can be quite daunting for people, especially when they don't know where to go, but at the same time, have it be similar to where PoE 2 players who never played PoE 1 can be very comfortable inside that space. This may have been an old idea, but I feel like the timing of it is a bit too quick on each other, if you ask me. The idle mechanic seems to be one that is lacking quality of life features, another question asks. Given the feedback, are you considering improving this, or would you consider adding it during the event? Yes, the original intention was to be able to deliver an event quickly to give something new and fresh to play to help fill the time until we can deliver an expansion. Given the popularity of the feedback, and for this event, we've decided to develop these ideas further, so we're currently, literally at the same time writing this, implementing a loadout system for the idols. Hopefully this will be ready in time, but if not, it will be shortly into the event starting. So, okay, they're going to have a loadout for it. Fine. Is there a meta system to the idol mechanic? Yes, there are locked slots similar to relics from Sanctum. You can unlock these slots by completing the same content that unlocks favored map slots. This will allow you to use your entire inventory to maximize your juice. You initially have the access to 20 slots and can eventually unlock 12 to get a total of 32 slots. Okay. And you know what's funny? I wasn't the only one that thought this. Is this content being used as a testing grounds for future expansions for Path of Exile 2? Not at all. As mentioned, this was a throwaway development idea from the past. We have no current plans to use it for anything outside of being a future private league modifier. So sure, people were thinking the same exact thing I was. That really does make a lot of sense, but I feel like it is a bit too close to fate, if you ask me, for these kinds of things to be throwing around just randomly out of nowhere to replace the entire Atlas tree. And that would be very similar to tablets and waystones and what we have right now. I'm just saying, the optics are what seems to be the problem for me, honestly. Atlas nodes close to the tree origin bias hard towards map sustain. What that basically means, is you ever played PoE 1, is that the first few nodes that you get inside the Atlas tree in PoE 1 all focus towards getting more maps or map drop chance, just giving you a heads up. Will there be anything similar to Legacy of Freesia, such as low eye-level idols biasing towards hard map sustain? We've just added implicit modifiers to the idols to grant X% increased chance to drop maps. This should mean even if you find an idol that isn't ideal for your strategy, you can still use it to sustain more maps. Okay, good. So that will be a good idea to do as well. So definitely the concept of like mixing and matching idols would be good too, to put them all together and then just release them like that. Not a bad concept. Okay, at least that's going to be okay, because map sustain is a very difficult part of just trying to get through in the first endgame portion of PoE 1, so I could see that. So what about Atlas blocker nodes? These are available in the form of unique idols. So you need unique idols to then block specific content. Okay, I'm not sure I like that, because then I have to do that content in the map or skip it to get to the content I want to do by hoping there's a drop of a unique idol to then skip the content I don't want to do and have it just infiltrate my map consistently. You see what I mean by the RNG issue? Will Legacy or Freesia be parented to the Settlers League or Standard or something else? And so some responses to this are pretty interesting. With Zizarin, this alone will make a lot happy. Is the content being used as a testing ground for PoE 2? Not at all. And of course, you know, things like that. People want to make sure that PoE 2 and PoE 1 basically just stay separate because they are vastly different games, which is honestly nice to see. So I get that. These are some prime quality ascendancies, Ashabi, and of course things like that. Try. Oh, cool, with a donut. Is it too late to try PoE 1? No, play PoE 1. You should play PoE 1. It's very good. Play PoE 1. Fishing event. Let's make fishing a thing in PoE again. Sure. You know, just things like that. Two of the new ascendancies are zoomy as fuck. Log in. I really feel like there's going to be a lot of really great stuff in this, but also I do have some concerns. It just really goes to show that I'm kind of just really wondering what is going to be happening with this game specifically. Yeah, we're in Christmas time now. And honestly, how they're going to be approaching PoE 1 and PoE 2. There are a lot of things in PoE 1 that should be moved over to PoE 2. And hopefully when they do this new, I guess you can call it a league if you want to, or event, things may be a little bit better. But I do have some reservations, and I'm citing more on what Sir Gog has been saying, that sustain for idols and sustain for maps may be a bigger concern than what we're actually thinking, and this may be a bigger problem than what we're letting on to be. Hopefully, they'll fix the problem before launch of it, but I really want to see more what you guys have to say. Let me know down in the comments section down below what you think about this new event. If you think this is going to be something good, or if this is going to be something that may not be as great as everybody else is, even though it's attached to Settlers. I will be trying this out. Hopefully it's good. I didn't like the last event that they did, which that was just me, I guess. But I feel like there's going to be some concerns and cracks showing up in the actual event when it does happen, but we'll see from there. If you guys want to see more of this kind of content, though, more PoE 2 news, more ARPG information and guides, subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you next time.